Alright, so got the rear shock in for the Trials bike, and now I'm going to I'm just going to clean the carburetor. The idle is kind of funny on it right now. It'll sort of idle high 1 minute, and if you try to turn it down, it'll idle way too low, so I can't seem to get the idle right. So that usually means 9 times out of 10 that you have a dirty pilot circuit. So we're going to get the carburetor off and see if we can clean it. Alright, so with these hose clamps loosened up, I'm just going to pull the carburetor back against the air boot. Okay, so the carburetor looks like it's going to be a nightmare to try to twist and pull out of there. So I'm going to try to take the airbox off. Looks like it's just these 2 screws on this side and 2 screws on this side. And go from there. Hopefully the airbox will slide off and allow me to get some room to pull the carburetor off. Alright, so the airbox is loose. Had to do a little bit of twisting and turning with it, but I was able to pull the airbox back and get the boot off the carburetor. Hopefully we'll be able to get it out easily now. Okay, so that wasn't too bad with the carburetor off. I just need to take these top 2 screws out and slide the throttle slide out. And then that'll allow me to free up the carburetor. Hold it with my knee, try to do this one-handed. Drill bit. Okay, I got some stuff zip tied to the carburetor. Actually, no, that won't be a problem. So let's get this throttle slide out. Tube is stuck. There we go. Okay, carburetor's off. So we're going to clean the body of the carburetor up a little bit before opening it up. It's all gunked up. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll continue from there. So normally I like to use some contact cleaner just to clean the outside of the carburetor, and I mean I just like to use that stuff on pretty much anything because it evaporates quickly. So we're going to go ahead and open up the float bowl now that all the caked on dirt is knocked off. And to do that, we got 2 screws on this carburetor. And then we got, oh no, it comes off. Sometimes that drain bolt actually holds the float bowl on too. So if we can figure out how to get this thing off. There we go. It's just that little overflow tube that catches. So I'm going to get these floats out. There's a little pin right there that just slides out. A lot of time you can just kind of shake it out and then pull it out from the other side, and that'll release the floats. Be careful with the float. You can inspect it for any kind of cracks or anything like that. Looks good. There's your needle. You can look around the needle to make sure there isn't a wear mark. So if usually like right, if if I can get the lighting decent here. Like right around there where the tip of my screwdriver is, kind of in the middle of that rubber needle, you'll see like a ridge that it's just from wear and tear. So if you see that, you'll have to replace the needle. And you can do a float, a seal test too on your float bowl. That's going to be your main jet right there, and your pilot jet is right here in this hole. You can get a smaller flathead screwdriver and unscrew that. Pretty straightforward. There's no, this is a 2-stroke, so there's no pumper circuit or whatever those are called. I'm not familiar with the 4-stroke carburetors, those pumper carbs. Go ahead and take out the pilot jet, and just kind of spray that, make sure that's cleaned. But the biggest thing is I want to clean the pilot circuit because I'm having trouble with idling. So if all you do is take those 2 jets out, the main and the pilot, I mean the pilot does affect your idle, so that obviously has to be cleaned, but there's more than that. So a lot of the time it's not your pilot jet, it's the actual pilot circuit through the carburetor, which is just these little tiny holes that go throughout your carburetor. So, and you're not going to be able to see that on the camera, but you can see the bigger hole, but there's a little tiny hole right there that gets clogged. So what we're going to do is just spray some carb cleaner through it, and then we're going to use some high pressure air to dry it out. And it's not been sitting. Like the carb cleaner stuff works pretty well on stuff that is like this, like it runs fine, but it's just starting to get a little iffy. So I'm just going to use the regular carb cleaner spray stuff. It works okay, but for anything that's been sitting for years or has some bad gunked up fuel, this is just not going to be strong enough. You'll have to use like Chem Dip or other methods like Pine Sol. Alright, so I'm going to put my carburetor cleaner, I'm going to spray anywhere I can with this straw, just try to get to all these little passages. So I'm going to start with this one. Definitely wear safety glasses while you do this, because it'll spray back at you everywhere, and you don't want this in your eye. That's going to hurt. I'm just going to try to get into any little small passage that I can find on the carburetor and make sure I spray through it. One more thing, so I took the pilot screw out and I sprayed through that, and I also put the straw in that hole and sprayed through there, and that's a good way to get spray through all the pilot circuit. When you put these jets in, you don't want to tighten them. Like, just get them tight enough till you stop, like finger tight. If you force it, you'll cause damage to the seat, and you could just destroy your carburetor. So be careful when you tighten the brass jets. Okay, so the carburetor is back on the bike. The bike is all together. Okay, we just gassed it up. Make sure the gas is on here, and gonna try cranking it up. We'll see how the idle does. Might have to adjust the idle screw a little bit once we get it fired up. Turn on the choke, and betas are left hand kick, which I never got used to. I've done it with the left hand, but I don't like it, so I just kick it with my right foot. That's good. See how bad the clutch is sticking here. Oh, not bad.
lost balance.